In this lesson, we're going to look at another variation of the try except, and that's called the try except finally. The finally clause is used to execute code that you want to run no matter what else happens throughout the rest of the exception handling process. And in this lesson, I'm just going to demonstrate through code that we don't actually run how the finally can be coded, and then in the exercise, we'll see how it actually works in practice. So first of all, let's look at the general form. So we have the try clause, which we're familiar with. Then we have the except clause, which of course we know to use when we have an exception thrown. And then below that, we can put finally. And the finally clause will also include a set of statements that we want to execute no matter what else happens and right before the program ends. The most common use for that is to do things like close files and release resources. So let me show you in code how it might look. We'll call this program finally.py. So in our try, we might have something like prompt the user enter a file name, get the name from the user, and then open a file. Let's say we open it to write, because when we open it to write, then it makes a difference if it's closed or not. In the except, we might have something like print error with file, print, enter a file name, and then try to open the file again. And then in the finally clause, we might include the function to close the file. One place where this might come into play is if we had a function, such as display. We're going to save that for the exercise. Let's, instead of putting it in the except, let's put it in the try. So that if something happens in the program someplace, then even if we go through the exception, or if we don't get through the exception, we'll still close the file no matter what. So we might also put the function call here also. The point is this, is that a finally clause is used to make sure that some statements are executed no matter what else happens in the program. So we're going to stop this lesson right here. And as I mentioned before, in the exercise, we'll demonstrate a more complete use of finally. And let's move on to the last lesson of the chapter, where we talk about how to create our own exceptions using something called the raise statement.